right, welcome back. It's 95.1 Nigeria Info, and it's Tonight with Somi. And more importantly, it's time for us to get on the couch. Yes, it's time for our therapy sessions where we get to talk about issues that maybe are bothering you, something that is related to love, relationships, I don't know, anything that you think is on your mind, and you would need our therapist to weigh into the conversation. We're here for that today. Well, today, the conversation is taking on an interesting turn because I've had a few people send me a message or two on this very, very interesting, somewhat controversial conversation around polygamy. I would like to get your thoughts on it, even as I'm having Coach Mayzy join me in the studio this evening. But we are also streaming live. Yes, we're on Instagram and we're on Facebook and YouTube at Nigeria Info Abuja. So you can go there as well and getting on the conversation, send messages, let me know whatever your thoughts are. We're talking polygamy today. And for some people, it's not really a big deal, but in some corners and in some cultures and in some other areas, it does bring up quite the conversation. We've had people sending messages about how they're trying to deal with it and whether it is something that they should be dealing with at all. And so please, I would like for you to weigh in on the conversation as well. But let me bring in my guest who will be joining me to discuss about this matter very thoroughly this evening, my therapist. And I'll share one or two experiences that some people sent in and said, look, this is what happened to me. And the one particular one I saw on social media, very interesting. I'm going to be sharing that with you as well. But let me make welcome Coach Mayzy into the studio and bring him on the couch. Good evening, Coach Mayzy. How are you doing today?
I'm very well. Good evening, Somi, and good evening, our amazing listeners.
Good evening. It's been a minute. We have missed you.
Yes.
We have missed you. But don't worry, I'm back. I'm back on the night show, and we'll see how we can keep me here for as long as possible. Hopefully, I don't get moved around anytime soon. Okay, but welcome, Coach Mayzy. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Okay, all right. First and foremost, before we get into some of the scenarios that that have been shared and all of that, you're a counselor, you're a premarital coach. You basically talk to people about love, relationships, marriages, and all of that. What has your experience been dealing with this particular conversation of polygamy? Some people, when they want to get into it, you start hearing different conversations like polyandry, polygyny, polyamory, and all of that. But the one that is the most common is polygamy. What has your experience been like, and what is it starting with, and then what has your experience been like?
Okay, thank you very much. A very interesting, sensitive, and somewhat troublesome conversation is but
yes,
we'll navigate it carefully.
We will.
So, when we talk about polygamy, I really can't wait to engage some of the questions, but let me just give a background.
Okay.
So, polygamy, can you hear me loud and clear? Can you hear?
We can hear you. I'm not sure if it's loud, but I can hear you. I think I'm straining a little bit. Yeah.
I could project loud. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I could speak loud.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
So polygamy basically is that kind of a relationship where where one person is married to more than one partner. All right. Now, the thing about polygamy is that it is not restricted to whether it's the man married more than one or whether it's the woman married more than one husband. That might not be the common one, but what people are used to in this part of Africa is a man having more than one wife. Okay. But what they don't understand is that term polygamy, gamy speaks about marriage and then poly speaks of multiple. Okay, that term doesn't speak to a man having multiple wives alone. That term is just a general term for any relationship that is more than two people, any marital relationship. that exists more than two people. When it's two people in the relationship, it's a monogamous relationship.
Mm.
But when there are more than two people, basically three and above, okay, so in this case, whether the man has multiple wives, that will be polygyny, or whether
Right.
the woman has multiple husbands. You know, so some people don't understand that. Or some people don't know that there's also that. You know,
Okay. So let's get that
that's what
again. You say polygamy is a general term, but when a man has multiple wives, it's polygyny, and then when a woman has multiple
Yes,
husbands, that's polyandry. Yes.
polyandry, exactly.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
I think there's even a third dimension to it called the group marriage, you know, or the polygyandry. You know, so
What's the difference between that one and the others?
okay, the difference this time is that both parties are saying together, both of us have other people in our lives. So it's not just that one partner has, it's not just that the man has multiple wives or the woman has multiple husbands, but both of them together have multiple partners.
That they're married to?
Well, it's a kind of relationship.
Ah, okay. I think there's a term for that one. That one is called an open relationship. When a married couple.
Group marriage or relationship.
Okay. Okay.
You know, so that's where people also talk about stuff like polyamory.
Polyamory. Right. Okay. Okay, we've talked about quite a number of polies, but let's look at the one that we deal with more here. I did ask in the course of your counseling if it's not too sensitive for you to share. I mean, leave out names, dates, and all of that. But have you had to deal with people struggling with this a lot in the course of the work that you do?
Okay. In the course of my interactions with singles. When it's a premarital work, what we mostly, the dimensions in which we deal with this are people who were raised in homes where it was a polygamous home or more like a polygynous home, where the man had different wives, you know. So many times that's the aspect from which we deal with it. There's another aspect we hear of sometimes, but it's not too common, where both people are yet to get married, but the husband to be has already declared that I'll be married other wives. So that you're the one, you're just the first one. Later, I will add more. And then we've also had cases where the man did not declare that he was going to have other wives. So lady thought she was marrying this her husband. And inside the marriage, he now starts telling you that in fact, the way it is, sure you can see that I'm a chief in my village. As a chief that I am, I cannot, one woman is too small for me. It's not befitting of my ranking. So I have to add another one or another two. And then they start running helter-skelter and say, this was not the agreement at the beginning. You know, and he tells them there's nothing you can do about it. It's either you accept it or you get out, you know, those kind of things. So yeah, those are the areas without getting into fine details, but those are the areas where we see some of these things come up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then again, you know, remember I started conversation by mentioning that culturally it's not a problem for some people. I mean, in certain parts of the country, it's a normal thing. And, you know, this is not to slight them on all in this conversation we're having, but people did send in messages talking about their experiences in this, and that's why we're having this conversation. If it works for you, all good and well for you, and you know, big ups to you. And it's really nothing new when you look at it. A lot of people in this generation grew up in such kinds of families. But are there issues that arise from it? In some cases, maybe. In some cases, maybe not so much. I did mention a particular story that I saw on social media, and you know, it piqued my interest. And I said I was definitely going to share that as well. Okay, so let me bring that up, and then Coach Mayzy can weigh into the situation, right? So a particular lady was dating this guy. He's not married, or rather, he wasn't married at the time, and then she discovers that he's seeing someone else. Again, it's one of those cases where it wasn't made known from the very beginning, so she discovered it, if you get what I mean. And then when she raised issue with it, apparently what this man did was he added her and the other lady that he was in a relationship with to a WhatsApp group and said, "To, this is who I am. I don't intend to be married to just one person. Apparently, I love both of you and I love you equally. And I just want you all to know now that this is the situation. If you're not comfortable with it, you can leave. You can walk out of the relationship." And for many reasons, of course, she felt incensed and she said, "No, no, 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 I can't take this. What's the meaning of this? You even add me to a WhatsApp group? Like, who does that? Like, so what are you saying, that all of us should just be chatting together? How does that work?" So she got upset and then she left. And then she says 2 days later, she found out that she couldn't breathe. Like, she was she was hyperventilating. I'm saying it now and it's funny, but you'll be shocked the things that people go through when they're in love, right? And she says she just couldn't breathe without the man, and she's like, no, 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 no. So she called him up herself and said, okay, it's okay. You can marry both myself and the other lady. The intricacies of who was going to be married first and all of that. She was like, "See, I'm tired. I can't live without you. Let's continue in this thing." And then according to her, it took her friends intervening. They did a whole intervention for her and sat her down and talked to her before she regained herself and said, "Okay, I'm not doing it again." She called the man back, said she wasn't interested again, and then she blocked his numbers. But something in my spirit is telling me, that lady was so caught up in that situation. 2 days, she couldn't deal. She had to go back and say, "Look, marry me, marry her too," right? But I believe that she was so caught up in that situation that there's a serious tendency that she might give in again. If the man has some way of getting in touch with her, she might give in. And so you then have people asking questions like, really, what is really the issue with polygamy? You know, I've had conversations with people where they will quote Bible scriptures for you. They will tell you, "Oh, it happened back in the day, this person, that person, Abraham," all of them. They will give you all the names. So what really is the issue? Is there an issue with it? Let's look at all the angles to it, right? So let's start with that, Coach Mayzy. One scenario on the ground. Assess.
Okay. Yeah. Let me answer the question you just asked before I treat that case.
Okay. Okay.
Well, like, what's the issue with it? Is there an issue? Is there a big deal? Right. So the thing is, polygamy is not in any way a new concept at all. In fact, it's been since humanity was, for a very long time. Let me put it like that. Since the humans on Earth, and it is mostly a cultural thing. So you see that where people want to make reference to even the Bible, or what obtained there was permissible within the cultures of those lands. You see, but the thing is, in many regions, it's not a legal, it's not legally recognized. For example, under the civil law in Nigeria, it doesn't recognize polygamous unions. However, there are other practices like the Sharia law that allow for polygamous marriages, and that is why you discover that there are certain, in some of those states governed by the Sharia law, you may see more practice, and it's just normal. Okay, so that's why I'm saying that it's mostly cultural. There are certain cultures that permit it, So just to put that in perspective, whether it is good or bad is entirely up to the details of what the culture permits in the practice of that kind of relationship.
Okay.
All right. So let me kind of highlight what I mean. Ultimately, we try to let people understand that whether marital relationship or normal relationship with people, what is your concept of humanity? What is your concept of genuinely caring for other people? Do you get what I'm saying? So some people will argue that, they know polygamous homes where there's peace, there's love, everything is fine. Good and fine for them. I'm not in any position to tell anybody how to live their lives, especially if they're adults. Do you understand? So people say the statement, do whatever works for you. Now, there's the dimension we bring into that. We don't say, do what works for you. We say, do what is healthy for you, right? So, if you interrogate that phrase carefully, you will begin to ask yourself, okay, some very intricate questions. How is this practice okay for me? Is it really healthy? Is it going well? Is it fine? Right? So if there are unions where it's polygamous and there is love and peace and there's oneness, why not if not? You're contributing to, anywhere there is love, you're contributing to humanity. Do you understand? And especially where it is permitted within the client where you are.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. I'm not going to be religious here anyway. So that's why I'm upholding humanity.
Okay.
All right. But then, if I'm to draw reference to the model of marriage, from the Bible, for example, you will see that what God created was one man and one woman. And we like to let people know that when you're trying to look for templates, it's always good to look for where it first featured. All right. One man, one woman. Okay. So that's what I'm saying, that when people want to go beyond that, if it's permissible by their cultures, well, then fine. The main thing is that there is love and there is respect for humanity and there is peace. So the question really you want to ask is there really love and peace in that place? Because what we see more often than not is that there are usually so many issues, attached to polygamy, usually. Time will fail me to get into examples now, but let me now speak to that particular case you mentioned. I just wanted to lay that background first. That all if it permits it and there is love and unity and oneness and peace and everybody is growing healthily, then congratulations to you. All right. However, understand what is obtainable within the laws where you are. All right. I know that under the civil law, for example, marriage is that union between a man and a woman to the total exclusion of all others. Okay, so you see that kind of polygamous practice may not feature under the civil law, but it may feature in the cultural settings. You understand what I'm saying? All right. Now, for that case you referenced, the man did not tell her at the beginning, and then she got to find out by herself. I already have a problem with that, you see, and because what it means is she doesn't quite matter in that relationship. Her opinion doesn't quite matter. If it mattered, he would have decided to bring it up earlier to say, okay, this woman that I love so much, that I care so much about, and I care about her feelings. Let me let her know what my plans are.
Before engaging in the relationship, right?
That otherwise. Oh yes, before engaging in the relationship, from where the conversations were still happening, you let her know upfront. I know certain people, I know certain single men who do make it clear that what are they doing with one wife? They go marry plenty now, so far the money day. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Decides to get in, and fine, you know exactly what you're getting into. But where it is concealed, and then she gets to find out later, that's already a first level disrespect for the woman. You see, because if he really regarded her much, he should have told her his intentions from the beginning. And you see, this is one of the challenges of polygamy or polyandry, where a man has multiple wives. You see, certain quarters have argued, even up to the UN committee, have argued that many times they are stepping on the rights of the women. Because many times, you see, like this case, the woman was not really in. She was coerced into accepting it somehow. It was a high level of manipulation. Yeah, you may say, hey, he told her if you don't want to go, but let me tell you, he has worked on her mind already. He knew the kind of person he was getting in. He has put her in a place where I'll talk about her own separately, but I'm just saying, first off, how that for her to think she could not be normal without him, she could not exist, she could not have a life without him. It already shows that there's been a lot of mind game that has happened in the course of that relationship. On the one hand. So now she's against her will, saying, you know what, I didn't want it before, but I don't mind now because it looks like I'm about to lose out in some kind of way. You see? So that is not her in her original senses saying, yeah, I'm okay, I'm good, I'm fine with it. Come on, my co-wife, let's have fun. Do you understand? So it's a form of,
Coercion
on that woman's rights. It's a form of coercion and manipulation itself. Do you understand? So, and it's one of the pitfalls of
polygamy.
Polygyny.
Okay.
I don't want to use the general word, but yeah, So it's one of the pitfalls of it, because at the end of the day, is the lady really? Is it her choice? Especially in the case where you didn't bring it up front, and that's where you hear some people say, but don't worry, we are living peacefully. Where you go and check inside, there's nothing close to peace around there. Do you understand? But they just make you look like, everything is okay. Now, that is not to say that there are not people living peacefully. Do you understand? I know some people who also put their own out there on social media. They celebrate each other, they co-wives, they do all those kind of things. And it's good and fine. We're not living in their houses, so we don't really know what's happening there. Okay, and any adult who is a critical thinker will know better than to accept everything social media suggests. Do you understand?
Right.
So back to that story. My first concern there was he didn't respect her enough to not have told her upfront, because one of the values we emphasize in a marital relationship is openness and honesty. All right, this is someone that you're supposed to regard as the most important person in your world. And information.
One of the most important people. One of the most important people in his world. Because clearly he had more than one.
I chose my words.
Okay.
I chose my words. Yeah, I said he's supposed to be the most important person in your world. That is what it's supposed to be. If you're getting married to somebody, it's not just one of the important persons. The person you're getting married to is supposed to be the most important person in your world. A lot of people have a constant challenge with that concept, but we can talk about that some other time.
Okay. Okay.
All right. We can talk about that. We can expand on that thought later.
Well, hopefully we get to that.
So that's the first one.
Yeah.
And then the second one is that. After she found out, of course, no apology there, no regard for her emotions or her feelings. Rather, he puts them in a WhatsApp group and say, you know what, you people meet yourselves. That already gives you an idea of the kind of relationship that it is, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, there isn't regard for other people's, the ladies' opinions. There isn't regard. They don't have a voice. They don't have a say. Do you understand? It's my way or the highway. Do you understand? So clearly, both of you, that's what it is. If you don't like it, you get out. If you like it, you stay. When you start marriage on that foundation, clearly it's going to be a one-sided kind of relationship, and actually it's going to become a controlling and an abusive relationship. And before some people get worried by those terms, basically any kind of relationship where all parties are not at liberty to express themselves and their feelings without judgment, without fear, without shame, is already an abusive relationship. All right? So I'm not saying that somebody is beaten. It's not until there's beating involved that you say it's an abuse. No. If any member of that relationship, any party in that relationship isn't free enough to express their ideas, their feelings, their thoughts, their emotions, without fear, without shame, without judgment, all right, without guilt, then it's already a form of abuse. Okay, so that's another thing I see that is happening there. Like, it's a case of, are you in or not? Like, I'm not begging you,
Take it or leave it.
And I tell people, take it or leave it. I tell people, you don't want to do a relationship as though somebody is doing you a favor in this life. Without them, you cannot live. And that's exactly where that woman has put herself, in a position where, without you, I can't live without you. I can't breathe. Like my life mission in this world was just to come in and get married to you. And if I don't get married to you, I die. Do you understand? And she's saying, oh, I had to run back, and you said, okay, it took her friends intervening to make her rethink. To say the truth, she hasn't owned that decision. Really, really, she hasn't owned it yet. She has owned it. She won't necessarily, well, let me excuse it. People's emotions get really mixed up and people help you out. So let me excuse that. But then, my question for her would be, what were the original reasons you had when you said you couldn't take it?
That's what she wanted to go back to him.
No, when she said she couldn't deal, like she was she was leaving the relationship.
Okay.
What was it based on? What were the thoughts? For many people, it's just that what you would call initial gragra in local parents. That I can't do that for what? I cannot share my husband. No, I cannot be somebody's number two. I cannot it's just a general thing without even really thinking about it. Right. And then when she got to her closet, I'm sure reality began to really ask her questions. You're going to be manless, so think of all the good things this man has done for you. He has money, has some control and wealth and maybe influence and affluence, So when she begins to think, am I ready to lose all these things just because of another wife? I think I'll manage it to who else to buy for me? What about the shame? People, they start thinking of all this things.
Oh, wow.
She says, let me just go back. For me, thinks of someone who really didn't have conviction in the first place.
Okay.
So you see that thing we're discussing about
self-awareness. I was going to go there. Yes. Yeah.
You see where it comes in again, and I'm saying this to anyone listening out there. What do you really believe about yourself? To what extent do you value yourself? To what extent do you rate yourself? Are you someone that any human being can just talk to the way they want and place you, the way they want, and all you have to do is just cry and beg for their mercy? Is that how you see yourself? If you're like that, then you're not doing yourself justice, because you are better than that. You're greater than that. All right. I know a lot of issues may have happened in your life that have made you question your sense of worth, but I just want to announce to somebody that you are better than that. Okay. Oh yes, you are better than that.
Okay.
All right. So. Let me allow you to talk.
All right. Okay. I have another contribution to that this time around from somebody who says these are the reasons why I would prefer a polygamous relationship, or I would prefer to be in a polygamous relationship, however you want to phrase it. I will get to that, but I have a voice note from another contributor, and I want you to listen to this. I hope you're able to hear it clearly. Let's play and hear. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello. Good evening. So this is Benga. My question is quite confusing. It's something I have struggled with over time, and it stems from personal experience. Now, I have this opinion that we don't love people because they love us. We love people because we choose to love them. Severally, I have seen where you can love somebody, but they don't love you back. Or you see that somebody genuinely cares and loves you, but for some reason you don't love them back. And the reason for all of this example is down to love language. Now, if I love somebody, or I'm in a relationship with someone, now that person is expecting me to do certain things to prove to her that I love her. Meanwhile, my own kind of love language is
hold up. Coach Mayzy, are you still there?
Okay. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, it just got cut off midway. Let me see if I can bring the message back. Oh dear.
I should know your heart. I should be satisfied by knowing that you love me, not necessarily what you do for me. But the other person is not satisfied by the knowledge or the understanding. They need affirmation. They need daily doings, workings, for you to constantly prove that you love them. And I have a personal problem with that because I feel like my kind of love or my kind of expression doesn't necessarily depend on workings or what you do. It depends on your personality, who you are, what I like about you. You don't necessarily have to do anything to please me. Doesn't mean I don't want you to do something, but you don't necessarily have to go out of your way to please me for me to love you. But some people expect that from me, or the person I am with, or I used to be with, or I would want to be with, would expect me to go out of my way. How do I handle that? How do people handle when they actually don't have word of affirmations to give, but they actually do care and they actually do love? Meanwhile, the other person wants you to buy things, wants you to be materialistic, wants you to surprise them, wants you to call them every day, do all these things just to prove you love them. How do you marry both? Or do you just walk away because it's not working, but you actually love this person? I don't know if you get the question. Thank you very much.
Okay. Coach Mayzy, are you still with me?
Yeah, I'm live here.
Okay.
I heard the question.
Okay.
But it's not about our topic anyway.
No, it's a deviation. So how do you want to handle it? Do you want to answer, get it out of the way, or do you want to finish what we're doing and then we'll get to that?
Let's finish on this and then maybe we take that. Yeah. So if there's any other one around polygamy and stuff,
sure.
Then afterward.
Sure. So I was talking about an instance where somebody was giving reasons why they would prefer that kind of relationship. It is not clear whether they were actually in one, but why they would prefer it. They said because, according to them, monogamy is overly restrictive. It is an outdated practice, and it's when you're with one person, like, things get boring and you need to switch it up, and so it's good to be able to have options, so to speak. So the person who sent this message said, anonymous, I can't tell you if it's a male or a female, but if I were to hazard a guess, I would say it's a male. But this is what they're giving in terms of reasons why they prefer a polygamous relationship. So let's have you respond to that. They said it's monogamy is overly restrictive, is outdated, and it doesn't allow for fun. And so you have cases of infidelity and sexual boredom and all of those things when you're in a monogamous relationship. And so that's why they would prefer a polygamous relationship. So let's have you respond to that.
Yeah. Interesting talk.
Why is it interesting, Coach Mayzy? That you're interesting is sounding sarcastic. But why? Why?
No, I mean, well, I like sure, and as a practitioner, I respect people's opinions. You know, it's just that many times when we're discussing one-on-one, it's easier to interrogate a lot of those belief systems and then get to the roots of where it's coming from. Okay, but when you say it's overly restrictive, you see, I'm concerned there. What is it that you want to be doing in marriage that monogamy restricts you from, that polygamy allows you to do? Right? That's the question.
Multiple sex partners, for instance?
Yeah, if you,
because I mean, that's what it will come down to, isn't it? What it will come down to.
Yeah, the person even made, I mean, he was among the examples you gave now, and that's why people start cheating, and then, but when there's polygamy, instead of cheating, you just marry the other person. The problem is that the number of wives does not cure cheating. It does not cure it. You know.
Are you sure, Coach Mayzy? Are you sure about that statement?
I tell you categorically. There is one hero like that in the Bible that had 700 wives. He still had concubines, not 300.
The king himself. Okay.
One sharp guy like that. So he doesn't care it. and to think that someone really believes that it is getting married to more women that would help him to be faithful is already okay. Let me choose my words right. It's something is not very right with that thinking, because you will still need to practice commitment to these people you call your wives. And if you had a problem with that discipline and commitment in the first place, if you have 5 wives, you will see another hot girl somewhere in one of your travels. You see one fine day, and you will like her, and you probably do something with her. But just so that you justify yourself, you say, okay, don't worry, I'm coming marry, so you'll be wife number 6. Do you understand? But what led to that is the singular fact that somebody could not control his sexual urges. So it's not about the number of wives, that's what I'll say. And then the person said it's outdated. That's quite interesting. I'm wondering where they got that report from. Where, who did that study? Where was it published? Do you understand? So these are the narratives that actually just sometimes are carelessly generated, and the gullible will just swallow them and not even know what they want to believe anymore. Right? The truth is, people who are in monogamous relationship tell you the kind of work that is involved in in just having a flourishing relationship with your wife or with your husband, as the case may be, work and intentionality to put into that. Then you say that that one is not enough for you. You want to add more. Kudos to you according to your strength, right?
Right.
What you would actually see, which does not come to the fore in most cases, is that in many of those kinds of settings, there is a power play there. It's always a thing where the man is in control, and these women don't quite have the level of freedom or expression as they should.
Is it really?
Right?
Is it really, Coach Mayzy? Let me just come in there for a little bit, because I've also witnessed, I wouldn't say I've had conversations, but I've witnessed cases where it is the women that even sort of encourage their husbands to go ahead and get other wives for a number of reasons. I know that sometimes it has been tied to fertility, right? So you can't have, maybe for one reason or the other, you're trying to have a baby and maybe you discover, oh, maybe it's my age, or as a woman, it's the age or a health issue, or I'm just unable to have the baby. Maybe I don't even want to take on the pressures of having that baby. And so we'll have a discussion and say, okay, go ahead. You can go ahead and marry someone else. I know of at least one scenario where it was the woman that even helped the husband to something like that, made sure that she gave her all the assurances and said, look, it's not a problem, come and have lunch in the house. She will even cook and everything and all of that, right? So there are cases where women have been the ones to even sort of initiate the process, right? So is it really a case of control by the man, or sometimes are these situations so dynamic that we can't even process clearly?
So let me say this. I said something before. We don't live in those houses with people, so we don't have all the details.
Can we ever? Can we ever?
The part of the story that comes out is usually the one that we want to come out. Okay, so when the new wife came, and then the first wife did not have child, then this new wife now has a boy child, which in some cultures is the one that will now inherit everything when the man dies. And then first wife is all happy and is all satisfied, and even second wife too is trusting that we genuinely have. Come on now, are we playing?
Well, I don't know. Maybe we should open the phone lines and let people wait. Yeah.
I mean, they should share.
If they can.
More often than not,
okay.
From practice, from what you see, more often than not, there was always, in some cases, subtle rivalry In some other cases, open rivalry, like it is warfare, and people even go diabolic on each other. Do you understand? So, if there are cases, and I agree that there will be cases where there is peace and there is love, from what we have seen, it will be in the minority. Do you understand? I mean, the phone lines could be open and people can share. I will be more willing to hear people who grew up in very happy and joyful homes where it was polygamous. I'll really love to hear that.
Okay.
I'm not doubting that there are, definitely. I even know one or two people like that. Do you understand? But then this is where, I told you that most times there's a power play. Well, that's saying that what is good for the goose is good for the gander.
Where are you going with this?
2 or 3 wives. Is he also okay with those wives also having another husband?
That's where the power play dynamic comes in. Is that what you were saying with that?
Yes.
I see.
We should share it around. It should be okay like that. Since you want it now, let there be equality. Right? Since one, as I am now, I cannot satisfy you. Who told you that you are satisfying me? Who told you that myself I don't want somebody that has a political office somewhere? You're a civil servant. Me, I want politician too. Do you understand? So it should be okay. So
here's what I'm going to come in with. Just to sort of put those two scenarios side by side based on what you just said. Maybe culturally speaking, or as it happens to be in our society, you typically have men marrying the women. But in the cases where the women are the ones marrying the men, as rare as those cases are, those have been known to happen. Would you still say the same power play is in effect there? Hold that thought, Coach Mayzy, because we will get into that one and get into it proper. I know it's not a common occurrence, but let's take some messages and then open up the phone line so that people can weigh in as well. Okay, we are talking polygamy here. Yes, we're talking polygamy, and I have Coach Mayzy with me, who is just getting into this, and we're looking at all the angles. Okay, we've shared one or two scenarios, or one scenario of a particular lady, and we're getting your thoughts and contributions as well. So 07009510000 if you want to weigh in. We also have 080-959-74869. You can call on either of those lines. And I believe you can reach us on WhatsApp as well on 080-999-30137. Let me take a few messages here. Shuaib Alaba Usman says, for me, polygamy is a choice. If you can handle the pros and cons, do it. But I can't and won't discourage it. Pretty Stella agrees with that as well. I like the fact that Shuaib Alaba Usman said pros and cons, right? So there's some great sides to it. There's some maybe not so great sides to it, as with everything in life. But he says, look, I won't discourage it. Also, Francis Omagan Namani, watching live from Amagunze in Enugu State. He says, greetings, wonderful people in the studio. You're doing wonderfully well. Thank you so much for that. He says, okay, yeah, that's it. I've taken that message already. Okay, let's see. Do we have any on WhatsApp? Yes. Hello, good evening to you and Coach Mayzy. Alarava sent in that one. Good evening to you. All right, the phone lines are open just in case you want to weigh in on this conversation. Again, it's 07009510000 or 080-959-74869 and 080-999-30137. Okay, let's get back to Coach Mayzy, who is breaking this down with us, okay? I was talking about the power play aspect, which you mentioned is usually at play in these types of scenarios. Do you want to touch a little bit more on that? Especially, I flipped the coin and I said, when it's a woman who has married multiple husbands. And that particular scenario is so rare that I'm sure that even if it did happen, society would judge that woman a lot more harshly than if it was a man. Yeah, it's rare, but they would judge that woman harshly. But in case you're listening and you think there's more to this than we are discussing, let us know. Okay, I have my phone ringing, Coach Mayzy. I'll come back to you. Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome.
Yeah, this is Francis Adebayo.
Francis, good to have you here. Go ahead.
Are you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Mr. Francis, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Oh dear. We lost him. We lost the call. Okay. All right. Call me back, please. I'd very much like to hear from you.
Call back. In case they call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please, you may want to enable the audio so I can hear also. I didn't hear
Yeah.
clearly.
Sure. I'll do that. Let's try again. Hope this works for you. Hello. Hello. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. Welcome. What's your name, please, and where are you calling from?
My name is Mary. I have an experience about the village of my family. It's not a good one.
Okay, Mary.
Fathers are married.
Okay, I'm going to need you to speak up so we can hear you clearly. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. My
Oh dear, I lost that call. Mary, please call back. I've had two people now. My phone lines cannot be doing this to me today. Francis, I believe, called earlier, and also Mary. Again, the numbers to call. I'm going to take it slowly now. 07009510000 or 08095974869. And on WhatsApp is 08099930137. We are talking all things polygamy, and we know that it's cultural and it's played out differently in different parts of the country and different parts of the world. We'd like to hear your experience as well. Share with us, okay? Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you very much. I'm Donatus calling from Mayzy.
Welcome, Mr. Donatus.
You know, I come from polygamy family. Understand? But according to my mother, 1963, when my daddy get married to my mother. Understand? So, you know, no, when my daddy get married to his first wife, you understand? She become advanced, cannot give birth again. And my daddy was the only child, only male child. Understand? Then that is not our father get married to our mother. See? No, my husband, you need to get married to another woman. Listen, that give a male child to you. Understand? You not married to our mothers and get back to our first brother. You understand? That's 1960, before the war now breaks out. You understand? So, at times, situation of things make man to get to marry to another woman. You understand? And we are believing it. Even our mother, she do when that woman was alive, she called that woman mommy. She also called that woman big mommy. I'm telling you this. So, guys, I think the situation of things take man to marry to another woman. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Donatus. So, Coach Mayzy, let's see if I can do a quick summary for you. So he's saying that he grew up in a polygamous home, and if I heard him correctly, there are various situations that require for people to marry multiple wives when it comes to polygamy. And he seemed, at least from what I could hear, he seemed to say that it worked out quite well. I heard him say something about I think the son of the first wife calling his mom mommy. I'm sorry, it wasn't as clear as I hoped, but I did catch snippets of the conversation, and if I heard him correctly, then it wasn't a bad situation. He grew up sort of well in that. Okay, did you get that, Coach Mayzy?
Yeah, I heard you.
Okay, all right then.
Yeah.
You want to respond to that?
Not necessarily. You know, I already said that at the beginning.
Yeah.
If there is love, if there is peace, if there is unity, if humanity is thriving in that form, then it is good and fine.
Mm.
All right.
Okay.
So I said that before, if you recall. You know, so I mean that's good to hear that it worked for them.
Okay.
You know, and they grew up healthy. Yeah. So that's fine.
All right. Just one quick thing I wanted to touch on. See before we, I don't know, bring the stream to an end or
Don't
something.
forget, we still have one question we didn't choose yet.
Oh yes, I know. The one from the voice note, right, that I played.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to get into that. But here's the thing. So on this matter of why it's legal and not legal, I know that in certain, you said in Nigeria, according to Nigerian law, maybe not the cultural law, but traditional law rather. But according to civic law or civil law, you said it's not legal. I know in some other parts of the world, it's considered illegal as well. But here's the funny thing. It's illegal, but then polyamorous relationships are not illegal. Isn't there some sort of like a contradiction in that? I don't know if you get the question.
Yeah, I get the question. I mean, that question has always been, as a matter of fact. So the thing with polyamory is they're not signing any registry. Do you understand? They just agree among themselves. So there's no harm.
No harm,
There's
no foul.
Per se. I mean, all of them are adults. They think about it, they analyze it, they say this is what we want for ourselves, and we'll be good and fine. So while that is allowed, does not mean that there is provision for it within the legal system. Do you understand? So that's why it is many times. It's just an understanding that exists among them. But ultimately, things like change of name is not happening with anybody. Everybody bears just their same names. Do you understand? You know how, for example, when there's a marriage, I mean, the woman takes the man's surname and things like that.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that would not happen in a polyamorous relationship because nobody's belonging to anybody. Everybody we're all, we just have an agreement among ourselves. So we maintain our individuality, but we just know that we have this understanding among us. I don't know if you grab what I'm saying. So
I do.
It's like it's operating away from the system, so there's nothing checking it directly from the system. There's no certificate of marriage.
You can't claim ownership of property and all of that from a polyamorous relationship. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's quickly tackle the question that came in on the voice note from Gwenga, and then we can take a quick break.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. So I think the summary of it was about
expectations from people who are in love.
That matter.
In
Yeah.
love.
Okay, exactly. So how do you handle it where your partner expects you to go out of your way, to meet them at their own love expectation per se, and then you're trying your own way, but your way is not good enough. It's not working for them, and then so I think that was the part I took out of what he was saying. Because he gave the example of having one person having this love language, another person not being able to meet that up, and then the party who feels underserved feels like you should put in the effort. For goodness sake, this is what love means to me. I just said, but me, I'm trying in my own way now. And I said, no, yours is not good enough. But that's how I say. All right, now let me say this. If you recall when we did the self-awareness thing and then we delved a bit into people's dysfunction and trauma and all of those things, what some people think is their love language may actually be a trauma expression, a trauma need. In other words, I have always needed to be validated by somebody else. I'm not quite confident in myself. I always want someone around me. I need you to be with me all the time. Like when you leave me, I get anxious. I get, and then I tell you that it is my love language. I always want you to be around me. You see, what you don't know is that when we trace your upbringing and some of the experiences in your life, you may discover that this person that says, I want quality time all the time, I want you here all the time, nothing else matters, just be here all the time. you may discover that this may be somebody, if she's a lady, who did not have a relationship with her father, who did not have available parents all the time. I'm saying may, it's not all the case.
Okay.
And I'm just telling you a few instances we have actually seen in practice, So I'm just saying that sometimes some of the things people call their love language, if you trace it deep down, it's not just about the love language, but it's more about a need that they did not get at the time when they needed it the most in their life growing up. And then now they need to depend heavily on someone else to supply that what's missing there. Now, why I'm saying that is because people like that, if you don't heal from that trauma, you will live all your life depending on other human beings to supply what is missing in your emotional development. And no matter how your partner tries and tries and tries, the few times that he does not try enough, you will judge them for not meeting up. At that point, the challenge is not your partner not putting in the effort. The challenge is that there is a deeper wound, there is a deeper void that person is trying to fill.
Right.
But the wrong thing they're doing is to depend on another human being who has their own issues to fill that void 100%. You see? So it goes way deeper than surface level love language talk. Someone says what they want is maybe gifts, for
Gifts
example,
giving,
or words of affirmation.
That one.
Yeah. So when people talk about gifts as love language, it's about receiving gifts, so it's not about giving. Yeah. So you may discover that somehow also, when you trace it to the experiences of their lives growing up, it may be that kind of home where you only got a gift when you did something good and you were made to feel like you were special. So the special person, the one who came first in the competition, was the only person who got a gift. No other person deserved a gift or a nice treatment. So you always had to compete. You always had to win something to be made to feel special at that time. After that time, if you lost something else, you see you are not really special. You're only as special as what you can achieve. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yes, I do. Yes,
so
I do.
somebody grows up, and then the only thing that makes them feel good is that somebody says, "Okay, take this. I got this for you," and then it makes them feel some kind of way. But deep down again, would it be that all the while growing up, the only times you got gifts were when someone just wanted to make you feel like, okay, you tried now, let me reward you with this, right? So I'm just saying that, I'm just giving those random examples to say that the challenge might not be that your partner is not meeting up exactly. It may be that the wound you're carrying is way deeper than what that person has the capacity to satisfy per time. Now, that is speaking to the person who feels underloved. Let me speak to the other person. The truth is, if you say you want to love a partner, then you should be ready, as it were, to commit to doing what it takes to be right by them, not by you. So if your partner tells you, you're not loving me enough, please, you also want to find out, you need to be able to interact and discuss, what could I do that would make you feel loved more? You want to understand it. You want to see where they're coming from. It's not to push it over, like, for goodness sake, I jump to Kim, is your tea. I heard somebody say, is your tea, you remove my blood, before you know that I love you. But what kind of love is that one?
Can't you just take my word for it that I love you and be okay with it?
Unfortunately, they can't take your word because love is practical. You have to express it.
Okay.
All right. So if someone tells you this is what makes me feel love, you, the partner, please be patient enough to seek to understand what exactly they're saying. All right. It may not come to you easily. It might be an area that you even struggle with. It might be an area that is for you, for goodness sake, it's just so stressful. But what then is the proof of your commitment to this person? If that is too much for you to demonstrate to you. I don't know.
Okay.
So this
Yep.
this is the part where love is not for children. This is the part where love is a lot of responsibility.
Love is work.
And if you're not ready to put in that level of intentionality, that level of sacrifice,
Yeah.
that level of commitment, then you're not ready to love. You're still selfish.
Okay.
All right? Because what you're that's what it is. So that's what I'll say
right.
about that question. Let me leave it at
Okay, all right. Perhaps time will allow for us to take a few more calls, but we need to go on a break now. I still have Coach Mayzy with me in the studio. We have sort of transitioned from polygamy to addressing a concern that a listener sent in via voice note. So feel free to respond to either of those when we come back from this break. It's 95.1 Nigeria Info. It's tonight with Somi, and we're on the couch with Coach Mayzy. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is Nigeria Info.